Anybody who says that corruption will end in a day or in a short time in Nigeria is not being realistic.
We are doing a lot to ensure that these drugs do not even leave the countries of production.
We need a civil service that will respond to the wishes of the people.
Many Nigerians say, well, we don't see the budget, we don't know what's in it, we don't know where the money goes.
That auction exercise we had was a most transparent exercise.
Public service has grown tremendously over the years. The share of government in the economy is unduly large. It is seen as a provider of contracts and a big employer. Developments in the last decade weakened the public service with an overexpanded public expenditure profile. Traditional instruments of budget and fiscal control were abused. Inflated contract costs and processes were at best closed, discretionary, and well-designed conduits for abuse of public power.
On the public service reform, we're really trying to do some very important things. Mr. President made it clear that he wants an efficient and well-functioning public service that will deliver services to the Nigerian people. And to do this, we've got to focus on how do we reprofessionalize the public service? How do we introduce merit into the system? Because many people say they are demoralized because merit has left the system and we are losing the good people. How do we give them training, capacity building and retention in the system? Those are the things we are focusing on. And of course, to do that, we need to look at what skills do we need in each ministry and so on.
What are the main objectives of all these training issues? First of all, we have a civil service which requires immediate capacity building and their orientation. Secondly, we need a civil service that will respond to the wishes of the people. Thirdly, we need a civil service that would have to change for the good of the democratic tenets so that the democratic dividends can be enjoyed in real terms by the people who voted this particular government into power.
Since coming into office, the Obasanjo administration has established a number of institutional and structural measures aimed at redressing the situation.
When President Olusegun Obasanjo came into power, after his inauguration, immediately he focused on the civil service. How did he do that? He collected all the permanent secretaries, exposed them to a 2-week workshop with a view to reminding them of their responsibilities, to be proactive, less corrupt or completely corrupt-free civil service, and remind them of the basic tenets of transparency, accountability, and impartiality in running the government as far as the civil service is concerned. After the 2-week workshop, some of the permanent secretaries were dropped and a number of new ones were appointed. This marks the beginning, to my mind, of a new form civil service which must be responsible and accountable for whatever it does.
Part of the strategy of the present reform effort is to fight corruption and ensure stricter enforcement of contracts.
Over the last 4 years, the government has been battling to really pick the pieces together, try to stabilize the polity, stabilize the political governance structures, and made modest achievements in the economic spheres.
If Nigeria must show signals that it has turned the corner in the way it uses its resources. It must be seen as a country that where the government does its contracts the way other governments that care about the resources, the commonwealth of the nation, do their own contracting. There are certain laid down principles internationally, regionally, that we can follow and we should follow. And by the way, those rules were in the books.
The Obasanjo administration set up the Budget Monitoring and Price Intelligence Unit, BMPIU, to remedy the broken down process of competition for government contracts.
Government has taken a second look at that and decided that the way that the money of the people of Nigeria is used must be such as to ensure value for